Good afternoon, good evening, depending the place of the world you are today. You see, I flew to Manchester, and this is a really busy area of Manchester. And you know, guys, why I came here? Because One Coffee with Kevin is going to talk with Jeremy Sassoon. He's a great musician, and I let me go and introduce some words about Jeremy. For me, it's a real honor to have you here, and because you are one of the UK's most in-demand musician who somehow moved from the hospital to the main stages of jazz festivals, world cruises, and a remarkable show celebrating musicians of Jewish origin. So, welcome to One Coffee with Kevin. And today, I would like to explore not only your music, but your inner journey, identity, courage, and meaning behind it. So, you trained and worked as a hospital psychiatrist before becoming a full time musician. What was the turning point that made you step away from the medicine and commit to music?
Hi, Roberto. It's great to be with you, and it seems so strange seeing Manchester behind you. Our shopping street, that's called Market Street.
Yes.
Anyway, yes, my story. It is an unusual story. I started off as a child as a classical musician. I was sent to a conservatoire of classical music, and I was there from the age of 7 till the age of 18. So music was very, very big in my childhood. I was a piano player and I was a trumpet player. And when I got to 18, I had to make a choice as to whether I was going to go into medicine, and my school wanted me to go into medicine, or if I was going to go into music, and my music college wanted me to do this. And I had to think about it, and it was like 50-50. I really didn't know what to do. So I decided I would do medicine, and I qualified as a doctor 5 years later. I then worked in Australia for a while and came back. And then I found psychiatry, and I kind of fell in love with psychiatry. It became my home, my home in medicine, and I still love psychiatry. I did this for maybe 5 years, and then I gave it up to do music, but this time not classical music. I was doing mainly sort of jazz and blues, and I was just playing. Really, at that time, I had nowhere to play. I was just playing in small bars and restaurants, very little money. It was a hard time, actually, and I have been building up a music career in the last 30 years and now we're at an interesting stage. But that was the journey. Those are the facts of what I did. All I can say was it wasn't some magical turning point. I'd like to make it a really nice sort of Walt Disney storyline, but it wasn't.
Okay.
I was just, it was actually the truth with all your viewers is that I was just very unhappy. I was very, very unhappy. I loved psychiatry and I loved medicine, but I didn't like working in a system. There was lots of politics and a lot of unnecessary stuff, and all I wanted to do was do the music, do the medicine. And I just was more and more unhappy, but it's a very difficult thing to leave. Medicine is difficult to leave. You place a huge investment getting to where you get to, both emotionally, financially. And I kind of wondered, do I just want to leave because I want to give up on life? Do I want to leave just because, I don't want to work? Or because there was nothing really to go to? And I struggled with this for many, many years. So it wasn't a turning point. It was just for a long time I thought, I'm unhappy. And I had to ask myself, do I have the cojones to actually make the move?
Oh,
to make the move and just jump. And that's what I did in 1995. I just jumped, and I jumped, and I wasn't going to anything. I had nothing. But like I said, slowly and surely, I've built up a career. And now I kind of know, you know what? I'm in the right place. This is where I should have been all along.
Good. I mean, it's amazing, yeah. And is there a moment from your medical career that still echoes in the way you relate to an audience or lead event today? Any relationship between there?
I've come to realize that actually, Roberto, it's more than that. Actually, they are almost the same. Being a psychiatrist and being a musician is almost the same. What do I do as a psychiatrist? People come to me, they come and see me, I listen to them, I listen to their stories, their emotions, I feed them back to them. And in music, I do exactly the same. As a psychiatrist, I can raise the mood of maybe 15 people in an afternoon, okay, in my clinic. I can raise the mood, I can make them feel better. 15, as a musician, in 2 hours, I can raise the mood of 2,000 people in 3 hours. So I'm doing better psychiatry in music than I was in psychiatry.
I mean, that's great. That's great. Let me go to the topic of this show, and we will talk about musicians of Jewish origin, and it's called Mojo. And Mojo is a powerful concept. And what was the spark that gave birth to this show? And what did you feel was missing in the way these artists were usually presented?
Um, well, the name Mojo came to me because in England on the television there is a big awards ceremony, and it's called the Mobo, Music of Black Origin. And I always thought to myself, I'd love to do a show called Mojo with music of Jewish origin. So that was the title. But what was interesting was I was asked by a Jewish festival, music festival, would I do a show for them? It's in a city called Leeds. Would I do a show for them on music, Jewish music? And I went away and had to think about this. And when I think of Jewish music, I was thinking of klezmer music and horror music and synagogue music. And if I'm honest with you, that music doesn't really resonate with me personally to that level. And I didn't want, I wanted to be true to my musical taste. So I went back and I said, I'm really sorry, but I don't think I can do the show on Jewish music. And they said, okay. And then that night, I went to do a gig. And on my gig, in the middle of the gig, I suddenly realized that all the songs I was singing were written by Jewish musicians.
Wow.
They were written by and I thought, the musicians. Now, this is a show. So not about Jewish music, but Jewish musicians. And this, some people have done some of this, but I don't think anyone has ever done a show about all the Jewish musicians and songwriters over 100 years. So this starts in 1924 with, say, Gershwin and Rhapsody in Blue, and it finishes with Drake, who's a rap and R&B artist from Canada, with everyone in between, your Billy Joel, Carole King, Paul Simon, Randy Newman, Yeah. But I don't think anyone's ever done, people have done the first half. They've done the Great American Songbook. This has been done many times. But no one has brought it the whole 100 years, and we deal with, I play the music and mention 60 Jewish songwriters and artists in the show, all the way through.
Well, we're comparing now to Billy Joel, to Randy Newman, to Amy Winehouse, Paul Simon, and that's true. I mean, there's a good number of Jewish musicians behind that. Has living with this repertoire changed the way you see your own Jewish identity and your place in the wider musical story?
Well, I might have answered this question differently 5 years ago, but the reality is I wrote this show originally in about 2019. And in 2019, in England, there was a problem with a particular politician. He was the leader of the Labour Party, and he was called Jeremy Corbyn, another Jeremy. And he was a problem, and there was a lot of anti-Semitism growing in England, and it was just a coincidence. I wrote this show just as this very difficult time for Jewish people in England, and now then there was the pandemic and lockdown for 2 years. So that went, and now we have all the problems you're very well aware of in Gaza and in Israel. So in a way, the show has become my Jewish identity. This is my badge. This is my Mojo show has come at a time when really I've come to appreciate, respect, and love my Jewish identity more than ever, and I've had to. So this show has become very special to me in that way, my own identity.
Good to hear. Good to hear. How you turn concerts into narrative, emotional journeys? Because let me go to storytelling, humor, and your life experience, which is great. I mean, I know you go to different places. I mean, Jeremy, he goes to cruises and he plays there. So your shows are known yet not just because of the music, but the stories, and this is important. Humor and some, uh, things that have happened to you. How did you discover that storytelling was central to your way of performing?
Um, The way I realize this, I believe that everyone is creative. Everyone has some creative potential. And I was surprised that I don't write my own songs. I sing other people's songs. So that's not my creative side. I realized it was only when I was asked 3 times to be best man for my friends' weddings. I was asked to make a speech. And 3 times I wrote a speech, and 3 times everyone went crazy, laughing so much. And and I told these stories about my friends, and people loved it. And I really enjoyed this. Anyone who is a comedian can tell you what it feels like for everyone to laugh at your jokes or to cry at your. And so the time that I realized that my creative side is actually with words, not songs. My creative side is with words, and I can make people laugh and I can tell them funny stories or very serious stories. Came from being best man for 3 different friends. The speech is going very, very well.
So thanks to the friends on the stage, how do you find the balance between explaining the background of a song and simply letting the music speak for itself?
Yeah.
It's not easy.
Yeah, it's a very important balance. The show is really interesting because the reason it's an original show is it's not just telling the story of these composers. As I say, many people have done this before. This is everyone knows the names of the artists, but I tell the history of the development and invention and development of popular music. This is the storyline, starting in the 1920s, as I say, with Gershwin, who changed music forever. And not many people know that Gershwin only lived to the age of 38. I mean, it's incredible. But then all the Tin Pan Alley, and we go the 40s and 50s. So I tell the story, the history. I play the music. I also tell little funny jokes that people, kind of like. But also I tell them about my own life. I tell them that that I used to be a doctor, that I'm a big Manchester United football fan. And we talk about football in this show. We talk about football in the show because many of the Jewish songwriters wrote the songs that all the fans sing on the terraces at football matches. And I did some research into what songs people sing at football matches and who wrote those songs. And again, it's Jewish songwriters, again, that do this. We do the Christmas songs because all the Jewish songwriters wrote many of the Christmas songs. So we do a set of this. And so it's quite personal. I also play a lot of the songs that I tell the audiences that I used to play in a piano bar when I was 17 in the 1970s and 80s. So the storyline is really important, but the music will always speak for itself. And I think the key to a good show is that you don't tell people too much, that they make up their own mind. You play them the music, you tell them a little bit, and they make their own message. Everyone walks out with their own, like, each different person will have a different album that they bought, a record that they bought back in the 70s and 80s, and each song will resonate with this one or that one, but not this one. And you just play the music, let them know a little tiny bit, and let them create their own message from it.
Nice. I was going to make a question, but I will, reframe the question because just for the audience, I have been talking with Jeremy many times, and when we were talking about share one story, he told me one story that really resonates here. He was in a cruise, and I remember that. And you were playing your structure, everything. And you need to tell the end of the story because it's so amazing when you were walking out of the hall and what has happened there. So that will be one story that will show Mojo that unlocks something special in the audience. Please go through, Jeremy.
Right. You mentioned these cruises. So I only started doing cruises 2 years ago, 2024. And I worked mainly for a company called Viking Cruises, and Viking put me on, and I was very grateful. They would let me do my Mojo show, and the show has gone so well on these cruises. Now, I've done one on Crystal Cruise. I have a couple on Crystal Cruises, and now Four Seasons are starting a brand new cruise line, and I've been asked to do 2 shows on the Four Seasons cruises this year. What's happened, and it was quite moving. I would play the show. Every entertainer does this. Every entertainer will play their show, and then they will rush, as soon as it's finished, they will rush to the back of the theater so that as everyone leaves, everyone shakes their hand and says, "We really enjoyed the show, or thank you for coming." And, that's normal. So I do this. And I've noticed in the last year that people would come past me, and the Jewish people who came past, it's happened on the last few cruises, at least a few of them have kind of come really close and come to my ear, usually ladies, and they come with a tear in their eye, and they say, "Jeremy," and they look around so no one can hear them. They go, "Thank you. Thank you so much. You do not know how much this means to me that you are happy to be a proud Jew and do a show about Jewish things. And we cannot say this. We cannot mention the word. We can't do this. Thank you. You are doing something for..." Now, I never thought this would happen. This was a real surprise to me. But every time I do it now, someone comes up and says, "Thank you from the bottom of my heart for doing something very profound."
You see, guys, audience, this is amazing. And when I was talking with Jeremy before, it also went to my heart, and it is amazing. But let me go and move a little bit. You are comfortably between jazz, blues, soul. Which artists have most shaped your sound and your way of being on a stage?
To be honest, I've never modeled myself or been particularly influenced by someone in this way. I've kind of just tried to find my own thing, my own style. It is true that 15 years ago, I had to find the right genre of music that fits me, because I remember I haven't had any music lessons since I was 18 when I was doing classical. No one has ever taught me jazz. No one has ever, you can't teach blues. You either have it or you haven't. No. That's my opinion. But jazz, you can be taught jazz. And I wasn't a great jazz player, I didn't think, but I had a good feeling for the blues. And I started a 12-piece band. A 12-piece band with trumpets and trombones, with 3 backing singers. and a whole rhythm section just playing the music of Ray Charles. And I found that Ray Charles was probably the answer to your question because he was jazzy, he was bluesy, he was soul-y, he was none of those things and all of those things. And so Ray Charles probably, and I even have a 17-piece big band that just plays the music of Ray Charles with all the backing singers, and I love the music of Ray Charles. Let's say Ray Charles.
Same coincidence. I also like it, like him very well. So it's a good choice. It was a good choice. Let me go to your Jewish identity, and by building a show that explicitly honors Jewish songwriters. What kind of conversation are you hoping to open about Jewish and the identity in today's world, especially 2026?
I'm not really sure what conversation I'm opening in the present day, because I actually think one day this will be seen possibly as a story of the past as we move on. I think that the golden age, of course, there are Jewish songwriters now. Of course, there will always be Jewish songwriters and great ones. But now, and actually in the last 40 years maybe, since there are lots of great songwriters of all cultures, black writers, white writers, Jewish. Whereas back in the day, this golden age, the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, all the way up to maybe 70s and 80s, there was a disproportionate number of Jewish. I mean, really, there shouldn't have been so many. There were it was crazy, the percentage of great songwriters that were Jewish. Considering 2% of the American population are Jewish, about 80% of the songwriters were Jewish. This was an incredible thing. And really, I think the interesting story is not for the future, because a lot of these songwriters anyway didn't actually care about being Jewish. They were Jewish, their parents were Jewish, they mainly immigrants from Russia, but a lot of them didn't really care. There were only a few that were very proudly and overtly Jewish. Leonard Cohen, Neil Sedaka, and to some extent Neil Diamond. The rest really were not that kind of overtly Jewish. So I don't think there's going to be a storyline about Jewish songwriters in the present day moving forward. But the big question and the big conversation that everyone ends up asking when they see this show or just hear it is, why were there so many Jewish songwriters? Why? Why were so many of the great songwriters Jewish in origin? And that's a different story. We don't have time for that story. But the history of pop music in America is actually Russian history. It's the history of Russia. To answer the question, why are there so many Jewish songwriters, you have to go into Russian history. And we're not going to do that now, I presume. But I do have the answers to that.
I think this is a hidden thing about the story of music. I didn't know that 80% of the composers were Jewish, and it's good to know that.
Sorry, I wasn't didn't want to be misleading. I wasn't actually saying that 80% were Jewish, but I think at a particular time, 80% of, or a very, very large number, percentage of the music coming out was written by Jewish songwriters. Those are very high numbers. So not the numbers of people, but yeah, they were responsible for a huge percentage of popular music coming out in over those years. Yeah.
Well, it's also nice to know. I mean, it's important. Jeremy, 2026. I would like to tell the audience what you will start doing for this first quarter. I mean, I know you will fly to Germany. You will talk about Berlin. You will go to cruises again. And also you will fly to South America. So, I mean, there are many, many things that you will be doing. Please let us know. I mean, it's important to tell the audience where you will be so they will be able to join you.
Okay, well, I'll give you the highlight of each month. One highlight in each month.
Yes, first quarter. Yes, first quarter.
Of course. Oh, can I go into April? Can you let me do April as well?
Yes, please. I mean, yeah, it's first quarter plus April, so it's okay.
Thank you. January, every year I do 3 or 4 shows at a great jazz club in Berlin called the A-Train Jazz Club. These shows are not Mojo shows. It's a jazz club. We play jazz and blues. I have a quartet. including all German musicians. So I pick up my Berlin musicians, and as a quartet, I will do 4 shows in Berlin in January. In February, the highlight is Goa in India. And the highlight is that I'm not working there at all. I'm just going to lie down in the sun by the beach and relax. So it's what you call my happy place, this place in South Goa. So that's what I'm doing in February. In March, South America, like you say, I'm coming to Santiago to do the Mojo show at a place called NBI, a synagogue. I'm so looking forward to this. I have my cousin who lives in Santiago, and I'm coming over, and together we've kind of organized this show. Can't wait. That's on the 12th of March, if anyone's there from Santiago. April is actually the biggest thing of my year because I'm releasing my first studio album for about 15 years. It's been a long time. And I'm so excited about this. So this album will be released on April the 10th, and I have a lot of shows to promote that. After April, it's the cruises, like you said. A lot of cruises in summer. That's, in brief, what's happening in the first half of next year.
Thank you very much, Jeremy. Thank you. I mean, there's a really, you have a good itinerary. I like also the Goa. That's a nice place to go. So
you've got it on your T-shirt. Have you got it on your shirt? Goa. It looks like Goa on your shirt.
No. This is more, it's more American. But I like to go to Goa. I've been there also as well. So it's nice to go to Goa. It's a nice place, quiet place in the south. Portuguese food, and it's great. But Jerry, thank you so much for this journey, for the stories, the honesty, the music behind the music. It's important, and for opening a window how identity, heritage, and courage, which is important, have you shaped on your life and off the stage. So to everyone listening, may this conversation stay with you the next time you hear one of these songs, and may inspire you to ask yourself what part of your own story is still waiting to be heard. So thank you very much, Jeremy. And guys, you need to watch the next episode of A Coffee with Kavana with something very interesting like today's meeting with Jeremy in Manchester. So guys, thank you very much. Jeremy, see you in Goa, in Berlin, in Santiago, or maybe in the UK, and with this release of the album. Thank you very much. Take care now.
Thank you, Roberto. Thank you.